Hello pretties, welcome to Websterville. How y'all doing today? I have my children. They decided that I just got home from work and they wanted to spend time with me. So here they are. I have a video that I was not necessarily planning on posting. I was going to post something else. Sorry for the little brain fart. I was going to post something else. However, I figured instead of thinking, I would just do this instead. This is a video that I created a couple years ago when I first started my channel, and it's would I repurchase my eyeshadow collection? And we're essentially just gonna go eyeshadow by eyeshadow and kind of figure out if I would repurchase it or not, and just kind of quickly scan through them. I was gonna do a ranking of all my palettes. That's what the video was originally gonna do, but I don't think I have the brain capacity to do that right now. So this is what we're doing instead, because that's easier. All right, so please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started. I have seen other people do this kind of video. I didn't see anybody else before. Not to say that necessarily nobody has done it previously. I just had never seen anybody else do it. So if you know of somebody that is the actual creator, go for it. I consider myself the creator of this particular thing, but like everything has been created already, so who knows. So anyway, let's just get started. I don't even know where to start. I guess let's start with this. New palettes. So some of this you guys already seen, and this is the Eternal Eclipse palette from Lunar Beauty, and this is what it looks like. I would not repurchase this palette. It is a palette that I wanted. It is a more neutral out of the palettes, and I do like the little smoky darkness of it. It's definitely up my alley. But it's just so, There's nothing really too special about it. I will say though, these mattes right here are very nice. But there's just nothing too special about it. I chipped one of my nails. Don't say anything, please. I don't know why my window's like shaking. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. I hope not. But anyway, that's one. All right. The Hella palette. So this is Otis Eyes and Angelica's palette. I actually would repurchase this palette. I think the color story is literally right up my alley, and I think it's very unique. I don't really have anything else like it, and there's something about this particular shade right here, these two right here, that are really special. Well, this one I know it's a multi-chrome, sorry, a dual chrome. Sorry, this one's a dual chrome. This one's just that metallic black, and I don't have anything like it. So this one's really nice. I love greens. I love the mustards. This was just a great palette for me. I really like it. I absolutely would repurchase it. Okay, let's see. Huda Beauty Eternal Mercury Retrograde. Was I about to say Eternal Eclipse again? Lord, I would not repurchase this palette. And the reason for it, I know this is like some people's like favorite palette out there. It's a little lacking for me, specifically in the true to color. And I think it's a great palette, and I think if it was true to color, it would be easier. Also, I wish it had like a dark brown, because the only deep shade they have here is like this eggplant plum kind of shade. And I feel like it was missing that, because a lot of these shades are pretty like mid to light, and it just needed like a black or a dark brown. So for me, it's just, excuse me, it's just not a complete palette. All right, the Tiny Marbles palette. Looking at it, the color story is right up my alley. However, I don't think I would repurchase it. It's just, I had a really hard time making combinations or creating like different kinds of looks they all just kind of started looking a little bit similar to each other, and it just wasn't as inspiring to me as I was hoping it would be. Not to say it's not a bad palette, and when I'm really in the mood for it, or if I have like a look ready to go in my mind, it's really, it blends beautifully. The shimmers are nice. I just had a really hard time creating eye looks with it. I don't know why. I just had like it could have just been like a mental block, but creator block, there you go, that's what it is. So I don't know, I may have to play with it some more, but as of right now, this, I would not repurchase it. Okay, the Natasha Denona Zendo palette, and my thoughts on this is that I would repurchase it actually. I wish that this palette was a little bit different. I wish that instead of this red, it had like really deep brown or black, because this looks like it's gonna be deep, but it's really more mid to deep, and it's like a really deep brown. I also feel like, I don't know, I really like the mattes. I think it's missing something. I just can't quite put my finger on it besides the deeper, something a little bit deeper. I feel like it's missing something, maybe something a little lighter. I just can't put it. I also feel like these two are a little too similar to each other. Yes, this one's warm and this one's a little more pink, and you can see the difference, but I feel like they're still a little too similar to each other. Regardless, I think it's a beautiful palette, and I definitely would repurchase it. It also makes me want to try more from Natasha and Denona. I just don't know what to try from her. Definitely not one of her big palettes. Whoa, no. Okay, and let's see. I have the Samantha March in Oprah palette, and I would not repurchase it. I think it's a beautiful palette, and for the color story that it is, it's not my preferred color story, and I don't know that I would particularly go for something like this. The only reason I honestly even bought it was because I was getting a present and I didn't know what to get for the present, so I just asked for this because I have been checking it out and I love Samantha March, so I wanted to support her. And I would say for the color story, it actually works really well in the skin tone, which is this is the kind of color story that gives me a hard time, but it worked really well. Almost everything here I'm able to use. I'm still scared of the highlighter. It's still might be a little too light for me. I have been able to blend it out and make it work. I just feel like it might be a little too light for me, but I have made it work, you know. I would never purchase it, you know. I am glad I have it. I'll say that. All right, proceed with caution. Hold on a second. BRB. All right, I'm back. So I have the Shayla and ColourPop Proceed with Caution palette, and this is, I would not repurchase this palette as a whole, but I would absolutely repurchase this specific shade right here. This is Hazard. I love this shade. So good. I love it. I have like an actual real dip in it, and I know I have pan on it, but honestly there's something about this specific shadow that is not like ColourPop's normal formula. This was extremely powdery. It reminded me of like the Subculture palette. None of the other shades in the palette are like that. It's just this specific shade, which is why I was able to hit pan on it so quickly. But anyway, I would not repurchase it. Other things, a beautiful palette. I think it's actually very cohesive, and you'll be surprised how much you can actually do with just a couple of shades. But I really enjoy it. I just would not repurchase it. All right, one that I for sure would repurchase is this right here, the So Jaded from ColourPop. Unfortunately, it is discontinued, so I wouldn't be able to repurchase it even if I wanted to. I did take Diamond out. I have it like stored elsewhere, and I did get rid of the glitters and give it to my sister because she actually likes to wear glitters. I do not. And I just love this color story. You can do absolutely anything you can think of. You can go neutral, you can go yellows, you can go purples, blues, pinks. Anything you want to do with this palette, you can do it. If you need only one palette and one palette only, this is it. This is your one-stop go. I love this palette. I feel so inspired whenever I look at it, and I really like it. I want to play with it some more. So there's that. The Jaclyn Hill original palette with Morphe. At some point, I think every other time I've done this video, I've always said, yes, I would repurchase it. But for the first time ever, I'm going to say no. I would not repurchase it. And the reason for it is, it's just a little too repetitive. And it takes me a while to kind of, you know, make grips with that. I think the formula is beautiful. I have noticed that the formula is starting to change a little bit. So I do need to use it more because I think you might be getting close to expiration. And I mean like slightly. The quality is still pretty good. It's just I'm seeing like slight changes, like just little ones. But I'm like, I don't remember you being like that before. Overall, I really like the palette. I think it's beautiful. The mattes just blend so nicely, and I have so many options of shimmers. I always know what to do with it. And I'll always be thankful for it to have these two green shades right here. I just feel like it doesn't have that place in my heart like it used to. That's the best way I can describe it. If we're going with Morphe, might as well finish Morphe 24D. I don't even know that I have enough space in the screen to show you guys this one. It is so big and so bulky. No, I would not repurchase. I don't even know if I want this palette in my collection. I've mentioned this multiple times, and for whatever miracle, it always escapes, you know, me like letting it go, like by the slither. I'm always like, okay, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to let it go, and then I don't. So I don't know. I do enjoy it. every time I use it, the quality is phenomenal. I have such a hard time reaching for it because it's just so big. I wish it was smaller, and I think I'll have an easier time going for it. In retrospect, like this is the Morphe 24, and then this is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill, and then this is the 24. It's still like significantly bigger. So it's just a little too much. Let's switch it up a little bit. Scott Barnes. I surprisingly would repurchase a little fella. I think it's because it's so little, it's easier for me to like wrap my head around it. Yes, it's very neutral. Yes, it's very boring. Yes, I'm not gonna get a lot of depth or difference in my looks when I use it, but it is completely effortless free. Especially this week that I've been using as my 1 week palette. It's so effortless. I am like not struggling. I'm not taking more than 5 minutes to do my eyeshadow, and that's never ever been the story for me. So I'm just having such an easy time with it that I think I would repurchase it, which I never thought I would ever say about a little fellow like this, but I actually would. Now, by the time I get to actually finish it, that might be completely different, but you know, just want to put that out there. Another palette that I absolutely would repurchase is now granted it is discontinued now, but the Red Dragon, Odin's Eye, and Judy palette. Yes, it's neutral. Yes, it has pops of color, and I really enjoy it. These two, the multi-chrome and the dual chrome right here, are absolutely beautiful. I love the little, what's it called? These two shades right here make it so easy to make a look. I can go neutral, I can go green, a little coral, a little pink, a little plum. There's just something about this palette. I don't know what it is, but every time I make a look, I always love it. I don't love the shimmery formula in this, but even then I can still work with it, and I absolutely would repurchase it. I don't know, there's just something about it. I just would. Let's talk about something that I would not repurchase, and that is going to be the Persona Identity palette. And I will say, I love the Persona formula. I think it's one of the best formulas that's out there. I think the shimmers in itself are the best shimmers that are out there. Now I will say though, she only has two formulas. It's you're either matte or you're shimmer, and that's it. But her shimmers are buttery smooth. It makes no texture. They're so metallic. You do not need to wet them. They're so intense. And her mattes blend, build, and they pack a punch from the get-go, but you can still blend it out, or you can just keep building and just really make it pop. And they're just so nice. The colors themselves are so nice. My qualms with this, and I've mentioned this before, is these two shades right here. So these are supposed to be the transition shades, and they do not mesh well with my skin tone. I've been able to make this shade right here work if I go really, really light-handed with it. Like I said, sometimes I pack a punch, so it's kind of hard to, you know, just one dot and try to make that best of it, or having to mix these two right here. This shade, I cannot use it as a transition at all. I have to use it as a deepening shade, and that's insane because it's not even that dark. You can build it to be dark. Like I said, that's one of the perks of Persona, but it's just not. I just have a hard time creating the base of my eye looks with this palette because the undertones don't mesh well with my skin tone. It is what it is, but overall everything else about this palette, beautiful, love it. The shimmers, you can even like blend them like they were mattes. It's so nice. The quality, top notch. All right, let's go through some ColourPop. Might as well. We have the Foresight. Yes, actually, I would repurchase this palette, and I said it before. I think this palette is just honestly right up my alley. The only two shades that I honestly don't care for is the navy blue shade and this yellow right here. I've said it. I don't think this shade goes well with the color story. I'm not really sure what it's there for, but whatever. And I just don't like this kind of yellow golds. I wish it would have been more like a champagne color. I think it would have been more my alley. I do think it needs like a pinky mauve shimmer of some sort, so I do feel like that would have been better than to have this deep blue instead. So like take that out, move this one here, and then have just one more shimmer. I think it would have been great. But overall, color story, quality, I have no problems with it. I know some people have had some issues with it. Just treat it like a pigment palette and you're gonna have no problems. That's the best way I can describe it. ColourPop Double Entendre. No, I would never purchase it. It's just honestly quite boring. I will say the quality of it is amazing. I have obviously 2 pounds with it, so I've definitely gotten a good use out of it. I actually quite enjoy this palette. It's just, honestly, quite boring. I will say the quality of it is amazing. I have obviously 2 pounds with it, so I've definitely gotten a good use out of it. I actually quite enjoy this palette. It's just, honestly, quite boring. I will say the quality of it is amazing. I actually quite enjoy this palette. It's just, it's quite boring. You know, there's not much to it. And I have another boring palette that I will be repurchasing, but it's not this one. And it's okay. It's okay. And it also leans a little too warm, which is not necessarily what I've been going for lately. I have liked a lot more neutral, like truly neutral shadows. So it's just not my aesthetic right now. All right, give it to me straight. This is one of those neutral palettes. Yes, it's warm, and yes, I would repurchase it, although it is discontinued now. But there's just something about it. Every time I travel, I almost always take it with me, and I almost always never have any issues with it. It is so easy to blend. I do have really big dips in these two shades right here, not that you guys can tell. And it's just easy. It complements each other. If I want to do something really warm, I can. If I want to do something really smoky, I can. If I want to do something a little more mauve, I can. I really enjoy this palette. I have no issues with it whatsoever. Although I am noticing there's a little bit of rust in the pan, so I should probably use it, but oh well. The Cute AF. Similar to the, what's it called? Proceed with Caution. If I could repurchase one shade, note to self right here, I would 100% repurchase this one shade. But the palette as a whole, no. It's just, like I said, it's not my aesthetic lately. I will say though, I'm having out of all the warm palettes that I have, this is one of the easiest ones to use. And it doesn't feel like it's too Pam orange. I know you're thinking, how? Because most of it is orange. And I think it's because there's nothing that's like a true burnt orange. It's like, how to say it? It's like spectrums of orange. So it makes it easier to make something maybe a little more corally, something a little bit different. So I do enjoy it, but I would not repurchase. Okay, thank you, Gaia. How are you doing, Mama? Okay, not right now, not right now, not right now, not right now. Stop it, Gaia. All right, I have my ColourPop Wild Nothings palette. I know what you're thinking. What happened to it? I removed some shades for various reasons. Let's just leave it at that. Same thing as the other palettes. If I could repurchase specific shades of this, I would. There's something about this really deep brown, specifically from here, that it just looks so good on me. I really like it. It's truly neutral. I think Vagabond and Come Together are amazing shades, and I love Hot Springs on its own. I love Seashells as well, but everything in most of the palette is kind of meh for me, but it's those specific 5 shades that honestly just make the palette for me. If I could repurchase those 5 specific shades as a little, like, you know, mini palette quintet, I would 100% do that. But this is a whole, no, no. Sweet Talk, I don't even have to say it. I almost declutter it. No, I would not repurchase it. This is another one where you're like, what happened to your palette? Now, there's some really good shades in here. I really like this deep mustardy brown. I really like this West Side. These 2 shades honestly make the palette for me, but I can't honestly keep a whole palette for 2 shades, right? So overall, although I really enjoy it, I don't even can say I really enjoy it. Although I've come to enjoy it, it's just not something that I would repurchase. I'm not even sure that I should have purchased it. So there's that. I did get rid of the glittery shades because I gave them to my sister again. I don't use glitter shadows. And then I have stored these 2 bottom ones somewhere else. So again, there's not much left of this palette. All right, let's try something different. The Pure X Raw Beauty Christie. And this one's interesting because if it was one palette, I would repurchase and the other one I wouldn't. So it's technically 2 palettes, right? So the all crazy colorful side, I would not repurchase this side. However, I would repurchase this side right here. Oh, there you are. I would repurchase this side right here. It's just, again, right up my alley. I can do something more mauve-y. I don't necessarily think that you need both of these right here. I think it's nice to have that burnt orange kind of shade. The yellow makes a big difference. I really enjoyed this side of the palette, and I have no problems creating looks, but I always find myself uninspired when I'm in the colorful side. And I always have such a hard time creating looks with this side right here. So I would not repurchase it. Or maybe I'll put it in the yes, because kind of like in the middle. But there's that. Let's go through some other ones. I have my Pixie. This is actually my Panda palette. It's not really a spoiler because I haven't really touched it since my update, so I'll show it to you guys. No, I would not repurchase it. I do not love the quality of this either. It's a disappointment for sure. I wish this deep brown shade was actually deep. I wish this like plum was actually plum, but it comes out more cranberry, which I don't love. I don't love this orangey shades anymore because I've had a change in preferences, so I don't love these 3 shades. So overall, it's just not my cup of tea. All right, let's go through some minis from Los Angeles. So I have Party Animal, and I would never purchase it. I'm just not a colorful rainbow kind of girl. Funny because there is another rainbow palette that I have that I will repurchase, but it just won't be this one. I do like it, and I feel like sometimes I do feel like I'm kind of want to be adventurous, and at that point, this is the best palette to go for that. It's just not quite my aesthetic. So there's that. I have my Sleigh Belle palette as well from Los Angeles. I would love to repurchase these 2 shades as singles, but the whole palette as a whole, I don't care for it. I really wish that instead of this cream matte, it had like a transitional brown, like a mid-tone brown. I think that's what this palette was missing, because this red is a little too intense on its own, and it just was missing that mid-tone brown, honestly. A very neutral shade. And then we have the Boss Babe palette. I actually would want to repurchase it if I didn't have a lot of palettes. I actually would repurchase it, but because I do, I just don't think it's necessary. The formula in here, phenomenal. If you want to go to easy palette to go to it, this is it. You're gonna have no issues. The mattes blend beautifully. If you're looking for just like an everyday palette, crease. If you want a little more warm, put a little bit in the warm in there. If you want something more smoky, go right there, and then you have your perfect 3 shimmers to go right there in the middle. So no, this is easy, everyday Boss Babe. You need to go to work quickly. This is it. Like I said, I kind of want to say yes, I would purchase it, which is every time I've done this video, I've never said I would purchase this palette, but right now I feel like yes, I would. So I'm gonna put it in the yes, I would. Who am I? All right. I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Jaclyn palette. I'm just gonna say it. Yes, I would repurchase it. I feel like you can do a lot. You can do warms, you can do a little bit of green, you can do something more shimmery, a little bit of mauves, pinks, the purples. I really like this palette. I have no problems with it. I do not need to use it sooner rather than later because the Anastasia formula changes quickly, but not yet. All right, we have the Identity 2 palette. This is another one that, yes, I will absolutely repurchase. I love this palette. I think the mattes in here are beautiful. I think the shimmers are amazing. I like this one more than the Identity 1, which I know I'm basically the only person on the planet that would ever say that. But I would. I think this shade right here is a perfect transition shade. And if I want something a little more pinky or more warm, I can go with this one. If I want something smoky here, if I'm gonna do like an all black smoky eye, this is almost always my go-to black to use for that. I really love this palette, and I like the green and the little gunmetal purple blue thing that is going on. I love this palette. I do. All right. Cat's Pajamas from Los Angeles. I would not repurchase it. Although it's a really nice formula, and I think it's the same formula she's had for all her other ones. It's just not necessarily my aesthetic. I have come to appreciate it more, and I've been able to use more of it as I've learned more about eyeshadow. This is the oldest palette that I own at this time. It's just not my aesthetic right now. So that's that. All right, moving along. We have Nudie number 2, and I would not repurchase this one. It's just, there's something missing for me, and I don't know what it is, but there's something missing. There you go. There's something missing for me. I do really like this new formula she introduced, and I think the mattes here are beautiful. These 3 right here are the perfect shades to start a look with. It's just not my aesthetic. There's something missing. I do think these two shades are a little too similar to each other. This one's just slightly deeper, more bronzy. I don't know. There's just something missing, and I can't put my finger on it. But no, I would not repurchase it. All right, Nudie for Titty. Yeah, I would repurchase it. This is the boring palette I was talking about earlier. If you want a boring go-to everyday palette, this is the one. I know it looks a little like lackluster in camera because I'm looking at it, but I just love this palette. I have no issues with it whatsoever. If I want something more chunky and glittery, this is the palette that taught me how to use chunky glitters. And this is as chunky as I'll go. Like the ColourPop ones are really chunky. These are not that chunky, but I can work with it. I love those duochromes. I really like this palette. I really enjoy it. I will say that I do think these two shades right here are a little too similar to each other, but aside from that, I really enjoy this palette. Oh my lord, my dogs. All right, we're just gonna wrap this up because they're crazy. I have one more palette, and that is my Candy Skies palette from Los Angeles. And yes, I would repurchase it because from time to time I feel like I want to use some color, and I feel like this is the kind of colors I would use. Something a little more softer, a little more pastel. There are some deeper blues in here if I want to do that. The duochromes in here, this two right here, I think this is the first time she introduced this kind of shade. They're more shimmery, but definitely duochromes. This is the first time she introduced them, and they're beautiful. I love these two shades right here. And overall, I just really like it. That's the best way I can say it. It's surprisingly easy to make everyday looks with it, and I just have a really good time with it. So I would love to see more of Candy Skies in my future. And that's it. Out of all of the palettes that I own, which I believe I have like 29, I think these are the ones that I would repurchase. And there's some ones that I've always said that yes, I would repurchase, and that are no longer in this pile. And there's a lot of them that for the first time are here that I'm surprised that made their way in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of my palettes I would actually repurchase, which is insane. I wasn't expecting that. But anyway, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.